And nice to see everybody's smiling faces and some blue sky back there.
That's just mean. Somewhere in the world, the sky is blue.
Yes, in the south, well, a lot of the southwest, there's some haze out here too, but kind of around Santa Fe and Four Corners, it's pretty good.
I think we should all set blue sky backgrounds just for fun.
Yeah.
To remind us what it was like.
Okay.
Or wear a blue shirt like Stu.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, Stu, you're looking very dapper.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Did anyone take a look at the minutes from last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And does anyone have anything to say about those minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from the July CCOC meeting.
I second the motion.
I third.
Okay, great. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. The minutes have been approved from last meeting. Next, we have announcements. The next regular meeting is September 22nd. Is anyone going to be gone for the next meeting that they know ahead? Okay.
No.
Okay. Oh, we were going to talk about rescheduling of the November and December meetings and moving each of those up 1 week earlier. Same Wednesday afternoon, 3 to 5. Does that work with everyone?
Can you say what dates that would be, Monty?
Yeah, I could if I had a calendar.
Here, can I say
Yes, please.
November 17th for November and December 15th.
Okay, so November 17th, Wednesday, December 15th, Wednesday. Does anyone have any problems with those dates, with moving the meetings? Okay.
That's great.
Do we have to vote on that or can we just change the dates?
Let's just change the dates.
Okay.
Let's live in the fast lane.
We will change the dates. Do we have any other announcements? Risa.
Well, one, Kate Kennedy is in the chatter, wherever it is, she can see us, but we can't see her. I don't know if that falls under announcement or it's a sort of an announcement. And Kate Kennedy is an Ashlander that's considering applying to become a CCOC member. And she wanted to see what we do and how we do it.
Great.
And she's confirming what I'm saying. She's saying that it's true and that she's there. So,
all right.
And it looks like Louise is also there.
Okay, great. So
Hi,
why
Louise.
don't, I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, hi, Louise.
Hi,
I'm a Louise fan.
we all.
and I actually did have a second announcement. I know I'm probably going over my quota, but
that's okay. Why don't we do all the announcements and then I'm just gonna welcome Kate and we'll see if she wants to introduce herself. But let's go through and do announcements first. Risa.
I wanted to let y'all know that there is a celebration of life for Marion Moore, who was a former Conservation and Climate Outreach Commissioner extraordinaire who died. And I just wanted y'all to know that on September 22nd from 10 to 11 a.m. at Hunter Park, there will be an informal gathering. RSVP is not needed. If you want the actual invitation, please send me an email and I'm happy to send you the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you send that to me, Risa? I would love to have that.
Yep,
Yeah, I would like it too.
Okay.
if you could send
Thank
it to Larry.
you.
Thanks.
And Jamie and Tanya.
And James.
then I would like to send it to Elizabeth. Can I send it to Elizabeth and Elizabeth send it to all the commissioners? Is that how, or should I just individually?
You can send it as long as we don't reply and have a discussion about it.
Oh, okay, never mind, Elizabeth. I'm on this.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other announcements? Wow, we used to have so many announcements, so it's just interesting. That's just a noticeable change that we are.
Part of that, Marnie, is probably because we have like myself and Rebecca and who else? As you know, we have a section for us to.
Yeah, Jamie, Stu, Tanya and I have update sections.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's because we reinstated that, like I'm saving my stuff for that. So
Okay.
maybe that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to say welcome to Kate Kennedy, and I'm not sure, Elizabeth, if we can let her in and just give her a moment to introduce herself as she's going to be here for this meeting, and then see if she wants to join the commission. So welcome, Kate. And Kate looks muted at this moment, so we can wait a sec. Oh, we can hear you.
There I am.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for including me in this meeting. I'm glad to be here. A little introduction. I've lived in Ashland since 1988, taught chemistry and physics at Ashland High School for 30 years, recently retired. I'm passionate about climate issues, using our resources more responsibly and more equitably. I'm interested to see how this goes.
Great.
Good to see your face, Kate.
Yes, I know several people on the panel already, which is lovely. So I'm seeing quite a few friends. I'm so glad that you all are committed to this really important work.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask Kate while we have her here?
Yeah,
Larry?
I have a quick question, Kate. Just because of the fact that we have two conservation-focused commissions, kind of, how your focus might align more with the CCOC versus the more policy-oriented commission.
I'm not sure how to answer that, Larry, because I'm not as familiar with the differences between the two.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. We're kind of an outreach education commission,
but I think that
on conservation, and the other one is more focused on implementation and updating of the SEEP, of the Climate Energy Action Plan.
I think outreach and education really fits right in with my skill sets and what I'm interested in. I really believe that small changes can and need to make a difference. I'm interested in big picture things as well, but I think that we have to start local. We have to start with ourselves. We have to start with small steps and really get people on board. And I know of some of the work that this group has done, and so I'm interested in building on that.
Great, you answered it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we definitely look forward to having you join us if you decide that you're willing to do so.
Thank you, Marnie.
Yeah. All right. Any other announcements, Risa?
Well, I just wondered if Kate had any questions for us.
Oh, thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah. I know that you guys meet monthly. I know that there's a column that's written by the commission. I know that you probably give input to some of the other city entities, but what would you say are some of your main projects and or accomplishments in the last year or so?
I can answer some of that, and then I
Thanks,
might let Bex and Risa chime in, or anybody else, but I just gave our update to council. So This last year was not a normal year. So
Mhm.
it made the update feel a little weird. But we have kept our outreach going as far as trying to help support the city staff efforts and just amplify what's coming from city staff around the SEEP
Mhm.
and around some of the changes that people need to make. And Risa and Bex have been working hard on reducing the use of single-use plastics.
Mhm.
So that kind of started a while back with different programs like the, what was it called? Sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the straws program.
Yeah, Jamie was a part of that too. What did we call it?
Straws on demand.
Right.
SOD, that's,
So there's Straws on Demand. There was Road to Go, which is still growing in our town, and more people are hearing about it to reduce the use of takeout containers. And what else have we been working on? We've been working with some other programs helping to get the solar cooperative up and going, working some on water conservation. So today, what I'm hoping to do is to do some prioritization so that we're more organized and we have some very specific projects with timelines and deliverables that we want to do over the next year or so. So if you tune in for the rest of the meeting, you'll get an even better idea of what we'll be working on, but some of it we haven't worked out yet.
Can I add a few
Yeah.
words, Molly?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi Kate, lovely to meet you. I'm Bex, I'm the Sustainability Manager at SOU, and the newest person on this, other than Tonya, who's recently joined as our council member, I'm the newest person on the commission. I've been sitting on it since I moved to the US in November 2019, so it would be great to have another newbie join the team. My observations since I started is I think we have some strengths and some successes where we've helped with messaging, we've worked with other commissions. I think we also have areas where it would be great to have some fresh energy come in, help with prioritization, help with a bit of structure, and look at what our priorities are and who we're working with. So yeah, so welcome. I think there's been times, particularly over the last year, and I think we'd be here with or without the pandemic, where we have at times been finding our way about where we are adding value and understanding that two-way communication from council for the leadership in terms of the direction we go in, and then also where we can add to what we need to deliver as a group for the city of Ashland. So that's just my observations kind of in the initial stages as the new member.
All right, thanks for adding that, Bex. Okay, I would like to move on to the next item, which is reports from members of other commissions. Which, do we have any today? It does not look like it. Okay, and then we have public forum. And I believe we have Louise. Is Louise with us? There she is. I see Louise's, that she's here, but oh, there you are. Hi, Louise. Welcome.
Hi, I didn't know I was going to talk, but
You don't need to talk if you don't want to.
well, I sent an announcement about ACAP's next Zoom meeting. And it's, boy, if you would look, I think it's in your packet
Okay.
because I'm really not ready to talk. I don't remember that, but I could say it's going to be early in September this time. and it is a professor, a lawyer that worked in getting two different types of organizations, communities, to be able to talk together and to accomplish something.
Okay, great. So we do have, okay, and now I see the announcement. Collaborative conservation, what successful forest restoration can teach us about climate action with Susan Jane M. Brown.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
okay.
saving me, Marnie. Thank you.
Okay. Staff attorney with Western Environmental Law Center, September 9th, 7 to 8:30.
Thanks.
And so we did receive that in our, it came after the packet. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That looks great, very worthwhile. Okay, hang on. Sorry, I'm a little challenged of navigating between all these windows here.
Thanks, Louise.
Okay, great. So next we have reports and presentations. We can start with council update. So that goes to you, Tanya.
Great, thanks, Marnie. So the most direct update, of course, is that the council received the annual report from the committee or the commission, and Marnie did a great job of making that presentation and answering questions. Very organized and easy to understand. I think it may very well be a model for how people should bring forward their reports, because right now it's very it's relatively unstructured, but Marnie put excellent structure to it. And so I think it was good for the council to see the different work that the different commissions do related to climate. And they also were very, there seemed to be a general support for the coordination between commissions that's happening now, that you all are heavily involved with. So that's really good news. And then a couple things, the council in July, when it, I think it was July or June, when the last time we put the emergency declaration forward, we thought we might be about to lift it, but that of course is not the case due to what COVID is doing now. And so we have extended it again. We will keep extending it while COVID is still happening like this. But what it means for the commissions is we were coming up to that point of saying, what are the meeting structures that commissions can use coming out of COVID? And so the council did decide that we want to be able to give commissions the opportunity to meet either entirely in person or entirely on Zoom at the discretion of the commissions. So recognizing each commission is a little bit different, and commissions may want to do part of the year in person and part of the year on Zoom, or however that might be. So we've directed staff to come up with a standard structure and policy for commissions to follow, so that the public can track it and know where the meetings are happening and how they can join in. Yes, Risa?
So a hybrid option for meetings is not possible in the near future?
No, in fact, the council said not even for council at this point. It's very difficult. The only place where it would really be feasible would be in the council chambers, and commissions don't meet there. But the technology makes it possible, but it is extremely difficult to facilitate a meeting when half the people are online and half the people are in person. So we at this point, we're not looking into a hybrid model yet. It may come up again in the future at some point. But by the time that we come out of this current declared emergency, the commission should have the ability to decide whether to keep meeting on Zoom or in person, or on what schedule to do that. So, but for the time being, we're still under the declared emergency. So Zoom meetings are going to keep happening, and nothing's going to change for the near term, but that's on the horizon. I pulled up the agenda to make sure that I catch anything that has climate relations. The Vision Zero goal, which is linked to the transportation system plan update, both of those items were pulled from the last agenda. and set aside. The council wants to have a study session on the transportation system plan. And I know that there are a lot of climate ramifications there. I recognize that this commission is not working directly on it, but that there may come a time when we do take up that planning effort, that this commission may want to weigh in on it at some point. So, but that's being held off at the moment. We should see that sometime in the next probably 2 months, I think, back in front of council for the study session. Yeah, Marnie?
I'm just curious what process there is. I mean, we have the SEEP and then we have things like the transportation plan. And at one point, is there a way that basically the plan gets filtered through the SEEP very comprehensively to make sure that, you know, every part of it is helping to meet SEEP goals? Is there any one person in charge of that? Or does this commission help in our review? I know some of our review would be that, but I don't know that we would do it in that way where it's really comprehensive across all of the different pieces of the SEEP.
Right, you know, that's a great question. So the Climate Policy Commission has a group that works on these master plans for the city, making sure that they are aligning with SEEP. And so they comment at that level of detail on all of these master planning processes. So it would be more likely a more generalized message might come from this commission than what would come from Climate Policy Commission. But I know that the Transportation Commission has also been talking to some other entities. I wasn't sure how much coordination that they've had yet. They were just about to get this planning process started. But now it looks like it's slowing down for a variety of reasons. But it will get done at some point in the next couple of years. I'm just not sure exactly when it's going to start, because that's the questions that council have are coming up, you know, around the timing and whether the biggest part of it so far has been whether we can get some funding from the state to pay for that process. And then also the transportation planning is very heavy on public engagement, and it was held off last year because of COVID. And now the question with COVID rearing back up again is whether it makes sense to go forward with this when we can't do standard public engagement, and we're not sure when we're going to be able to.
Okay.
And then the last thing is just that the council adopted the ordinance that amends the comprehensive plan to adopt the housing capacity analysis into the comprehensive plan. And so we've been looking at that from a climate standpoint. I'm happy to say that climate was definitely a strong consideration in looking at that housing and at looking at what is needed. And so I'm seeing a really good staff effort as these processes are coming through community development to align them up with what we're saying on the climate side of things. So just wanted to let you know that that's all there. The next thing that they're going to be doing is developing a housing, what do they call that? It's a housing, it's basically the plan to fill the gaps in terms of the housing that we need. And so that is going to be, that's what the community development folks will be working on next. So that's my update.
Risa and then James.
So Tanya, I just had kind of a general question that pertains directly to the halting of progress on the transportation plan as it relates to the difficulty in getting public input during pandemic times. And although it's not ideal, I think that there are ways to get public input in a Zoom kind of situation where, you know, people go into breakout rooms. And then as far as accessibility, I would think that those people that don't have access to a computer, there could be an arrangement where they could go to the library to access a way to participate in Zoom. And then I also think that it's possible that for those that won't do it in person, won't do it on Zoom, that there could be written questionnaire input opportunity that, like, together it could provide an array of input so that the city isn't at a standstill, you know, every time, because I don't think this will be the only time that we are challenged in this way. And it seems important that we're able to provide opportunities for public input so that the city can at least crawl ahead as opposed to walk slowly ahead during these kinds of times.
Yeah, I think you make some good points, Risa. And what was being brought before us that was postponed was the approval of the contract that was postponed from last year. And so council will be discussing all of that, and whether what we need to do is to simply ask the contractor to update the community engagement process and move it more into online, and how do you guarantee accessibility for it, all that sort of thing. So there is definitely a way to move forward with that if we think it's adequate. And a lot of planners and consultants have definitely upped their game in terms of what they can do online over the last year and a half. The other issue is the question of where it's paid for, who pays for it. And right now it would come out of systems development charges, but there is some possibility that the state may have some funding for us, but that funding wouldn't be available yet. And if we start the process, then we won't be eligible for it. So there's a number of questions that the council wants to take up before approving the contract and moving it forward. But I think you make good points, and I'll definitely keep those in mind as we head into that conversation, because we know that transportation is a major driver of climate change and our road system and all that sort of thing. So I'm definitely feeling the urge to keep it moving, and especially since the infrastructure money hopefully is going to be coming out of the federal government. This planning process will probably not be done wouldn't be done even if we started it now by the time that program would start. But we also don't know what that rollout could look like either. So I think we're kind of in a balancing point here right now about what type of money to invest where, and then what is the best thing to be done to be ready for investment coming from the feds at whatever point we can intersect it with an updated plan.
Great. James, did you have a question? You're muted. James? Oh,
Okay,
there
I
you
am
go.
muted before, but okay.
Thank you.
So I have a question regarding, and this might be Stu, something that you would be chiming in on too. I was looking at the 2021 report to City Council on the progress of climate change plan and implementation, and I keep going back to the 8% per year. And when I look at 8% per year, I don't know what percentage of reduction we've made since 2000. Well, it's 2017 the plan was passed, but say 18, 19, 20, 21. So we're almost at the end of the fourth year, and it seems to me that we're continuing to backslide. And I just want to know if City Council, the new councilors, and everybody else that have been involved are keeping an eye on that target and how that plays out in how the reporting goes. Because I didn't see that, Stu, in the report itself, but I didn't look at all the detail of it. So it could be, Tonio, are you talking about it in council under those terms of looking at it from that perspective?
Stu, you feel free to jump in here, but we haven't been, we don't have an assessment of what we've done over each of those 4 years. And I don't think that that's the plan to have it on an annual basis, but Stu can update us in terms of that.
My annual report, the staff report to council, has all of the current data as far as we can get it. You know, there's a lot of issues with the 8% goal that I don't have time to talk about right now, but effectively Ashland's emissions are flat if we're lucky. So it says pretty clearly in the report, we're not keeping pace with the goal. And I don't think I'm prepared to say what percent we're off because the data is not good enough to say with any degree of certainty.
Yeah. And that's why council hasn't had the conversation about percentages. Like, you know, where did we get compared to that eight figure? But it has been clearly articulated to council by both Stu and the commissions as they come forward that we are not making progress that we need to make. I mean, I will say that has been a consistent message across all of the reporting that council's getting.
Any other questions for
Thank you.
Tanya? All right, thank you, Tanya. So we have staff update, Stu. If you would like to provide that, that'd be great.
Sure, I'll just give a brief one. So I submitted our application to the USDA for the energy retrofit program. That's one of the bigger developments that's happened for us this spring. And so I'm waiting still to hear back about that. If that program comes through, I'm really going to be asking folks on this commission to be helpful in spreading that program around as well as designing it. So, but for right now, I'm in a holding pattern, just waiting to hear back from the USDA. I'll be checking in with them soon if I don't hear back. Also, some of the other efforts I can report back on, we were involved in a cohort of cities that was lobbying the state for improved building codes. Essentially asking for permission to use the REACH code as our city code and making a few other adjustments to improve efficiency and reduce emissions and so on. But that bill did not pass this year, so it'll be back to the drawing boards next session, hopefully. Let's see, also of interest, I'm engaging with Fourth Mobility and a couple of other utilities to put out a self-serve ride and drive electric vehicle. It looks like that vehicle will be available probably in October or November. So I'm working still to lock in the host site for that. I've got a couple options, just trying to hear back from folks. Let's see, as well, Climate Policy Commission is getting ready to do their report to council September 7, so that might be something you want to tune into. Also, I've been coordinating with other utilities and cities, forever. It doesn't make sense to reinvent all the educational content for any program, but we've been joining forces a little bit for electric vehicle promotion. And Ashland has glommed on to some efforts that are happening in the Willamette Valley. It's basically the Emerald Valley Electric Vehicle Association is offering some Zoom workshops that are very similar to what we did as part of the Adapt Your Home campaign. It's essentially an opportunity for folks who are curious about electric vehicles to talk to real people and get real information, as well as they have a kind of a brand neutral approach and information about all the financial incentives, including Ashland's. So all that to say, I'll send out the event information to you folks. There's actually a couple of different days, September 14 and September 29. And if you can help recruit folks to go to those, that would be wonderful, because it's a free resource for us. And it definitely helps us when folks purchase electric vehicles. Speaking of which, the electric vehicle incentive program is still going pretty well. If you know folks who are considering an EV, please tell them about the program. Since we launched in late November, we have issued 28 incentives for electric vehicles. So that's 28 EVs on the road in Ashland. And we've done 44 electric bikes. So that's significant. I wish it was double or triple that, but we'll keep working on it. Also, we have stood up the induction cooktop incentive. We've had a couple of people go through that program now and have been pretty happy with it. So glad to have that in our stable of tools. let's see. I think that's probably where I should leave it for right now. Unless there's a specific question about anything.
Yeah, Larry, and then Risa.
You're muted.
Larry, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So have you been able to evaluate at all, like in how many of the purchases of electric bikes or electric cars, the incentive played a significant role or any role? Like, are people being drawn now because of the incentives to get these things, or are these maybe half of them or more people that were going to do it anyway? Do you have any sense?
Yeah, I think I missed a little piece of your question, but I think it was basically, is the incentive working to incentivize people? And I think in a lot of cases, yes, especially because we have it kind of, we have the price capped, so we are not catering to luxury purchases here. So folks who are purchasing, there's been quite a number of, well, there's been a lot of new electric vehicles, which folks have appreciated the incentive on. And there's been a number of used vehicles as well, which, you know, in talking to a couple of those folks, they clearly couldn't have done it without stringing together both the city and state incentives. So, you know, it's pretty good right now. If you live in Ashland, you can take the city incentive and the 2 state incentives and virtually buy a used electric vehicle for the amount of those incentives. So I would say it's effective. The more money we can throw at it, the more effective it will be. But we were offering a pretty rich incentive on the spectrum of things for our size utility.
Great. Risa, did you have the next question, and then Jamie?
Yeah, it's for Stu and about the induction program. I wonder, the information for being able to borrow the induction, is it on the city website and on the library network site? That's the one question.
I have to double check. I'm fairly certain that Bridget put it on the webpage before she left, but that would be good for me to double check. It is listed on the Library of Things. I went and signed up for that. It's got a separate web portal from the regular library, so you have to search for that if you want to check them out.
So I was wondering if it could be valuable to get a paragraph from each of the people that have borrowed it, to just sort of write up a little thing about how it was, and then if it could be posted on the library site and on the city site, and possibly do a sneak preview article in the future as well, could just, because it's a new thing, and I don't know how much of the public even knows about it.
Yeah, I don't know that the Library of Things will give us access to the checkout records. That's probably a privacy thing, but we could certainly contact folks that we know have induction cooktops and ask them about their journey.
And that's something I would think that one of us on the commission could, team up with you to do, so it's not all on you, since Bridget isn't there. And I'd be happy to help with that, so.
Yeah, I think there's a project that was begun but never fully developed, was this sort of idea of having climate voices, different people from the city talking about, one small project or projects that they have done. And really let that serve as a space to highlight those kind of things. And so that exists, but we never got as many stories as we would like. So if we want to start developing that, I'd be happy to work on that with somebody. We could do induction stoves, we could do heat pumps, we could do all the goodies.
Because once we have the structure, then it's just a matter of just plugging in Joe Schmo and Julie Jones, and you just plug them in. And
yeah,
could we bring this up, because I really like this idea, and we're going to talk about kind of what the projects we want to work on coming up in a little bit. So can we reset, and or Stu, can you bring this up when we get into that discussion as well, because this seems worth holding on to. And then Jamie, did you have a question?
I did. I was wondering, Stu, off the top of your head, do you know the are there multiple different caps for the purchase of electric vehicles, or is there just one cap? And what is
Just
it?
So basically for EV, it has to cost you $30,000 or less.
Okay.
Purchase price. So a lot of the dealers have been coming in at $29,999.
Of course. Yeah.
So yeah, basically that's the criteria for the EVs, and for e-bikes, it's has to cost 3,000 or less.
3,000. Oh, that's easy to remember. 3 and 30. Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, SOU update. Bex.
Thanks, Manny. So we're just gearing up for start of term in a few weeks. Just discussions about what this is going to look like, because obviously things are changing at the moment on a daily basis. Our water conservation efforts are continuing. Campus doesn't usually look like it does at the moment through the summer. We have water conservation signs up. We've identified transition areas that we are proactively transitioning in the near term. They've got signs highlighting that in terms of drought tolerant plants. We've got water conservation areas. They've been highlighted, and we're also doing every effort in terms of conservation of trees as well. We have other pressures on our trees on campus as well, which City of Ashland is experiencing across the City of Ashland. And those pressures are being exacerbated by the drought. So yeah, we're in a different time, and we're recognizing that the climate's changing, and we can't continue to use the amount of water for irrigation. And I think we're recognizing that across campus and being proactive there. We released a news article on that, I think it was last week, that went out from SOU in terms of our water conservation issues. Solar projects, we've got a couple of new solar projects progressing on campus. And what else? Our new procurement, sustainable procurement policy that was approved by Cabinet and is out for public comment or SOU community comment at the moment, and then it will be published on our website. And that's our normal process for new policies. So that's just been moving forward this summer, and I'm looking forward to the students coming back in a few weeks.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Bex? Yeah, Jamie.
With the virus and Delta and whatnot, is there talk of possibly not coming back, like, or is this a train that's just gonna?
There are ongoing discussions that I haven't been involved in detail at the moment.
Okay, not privy to the information.
All right. How about if we move to the Recology update? Are you ready for that, Jamie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things that's supposed to happen is the Oregon Refuse and Recycling Association Fall Convention in Bend, Oregon, and that's September 29th through October 1st. Right now, it's supposed to be in person, but things aren't really looking good in that area. And it's, in person, very valuable to go to if you can. It's a collection of waste and recycling authorities all throughout the state getting together and talking about issues that are related to waste and recycling. And the one benefit, if we don't end up having it in person in Bend, is that it will become virtual and therefore way more affordable for just anyone to participate. They have last year, because we didn't have it in person, you could pay by the session. So for instance, if you were interested in a session on the changes in recycling or what the state's doing with the new laws around producer responsibility, you could just pay the $50 and attend that session. Otherwise, if you wanted to attend all the sessions, I think they charge something like $125. So this is a like multi-layer opportunity to attend this conference if we don't have it in person. The session that I am in charge of is basically how waste and recycling authorities, those in the business, in the collection business, can support the mental health and well-being of their employees through the rest of this coronavirus pandemic, and also basically the aftermath, hopefully. And if it is going to be an a virtual event, Ty O'Mara, Ashland's police chief, has told me that he will speak to how they support the essential workers of the police force to ensure the mental health and well-being of their employees. So that could be in and of itself a very interesting session. And again, it's September 29th through October 1st. And if anyone's interested, you could privately reach out to me, or I can give the information to whoever I need to give it to disperse it. Does anyone have any questions about that in particular? I have one more announcement. No? Okay. So the other announcement I have at Recology, we're having, we're kind of in a semi-COVID related crisis and also just some bad luck. And what I mean by that is if you can imagine if coronavirus runs its course through our drivers, who's going to pick up the garbage? Who's going to pick up the recycling? So we have been so careful and so, worried about the possibility of something like what is going on right now happening. But I just wanted to let you know that, we do have, I believe, a driver that has coronavirus. We have another driver that we just hired, and he fell en route and like broke his wrist or something. So he's out. And basically what that means is that we have a contingency plan, and, a lot of our drivers already stressed out are now like stepping up and going and picking up cardboard in the city at 3 a.m. just to help. It's not like just any other position where you can just have someone pick up the routes. Like, they have to know what they're doing. And so I just wanted to voice that and say, just be patient with us as we try to figure this out. Just like we're doing with everything, we're just trying to be as adaptable as possible. So that's about it.
All right. Thank you,
Congrats,
James.
James. You're muted.
James, you're
Yep.
muted. I can't hear you.
My little mouse wasn't working properly. Okay, so a question regarding, a lot of places now are requiring people to be vaccinated. And I wondered if Recology has thought of that as a requirement for employment at Recology.
So right now, our policy is that if you are not fully vaccinated, meaning after your second vaccination, you wait 2 weeks. And then after that 2 weeks has lapsed, then you're fully vaccinated. You're not allowed to work at Recology. We're also polling people to make, surveying them to see if they're vaccinated, and just constantly taking inventory of what's going on with that. So, it's
Does that mean
ever
then?
evolving.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I'm just to clarification. Does that mean anybody that's currently working there, if they don't get vaccinated, fully vaccinated, then they can't continue to work there or can't get a job there?
They're not, well, like, for instance, let's, like in my case, I'm not talking about, so in my case, if I'm not fully vaccinated, I can't go into the office and work. Now, I believe all of our drivers are vaccinated. I don't know that for sure, but I would, leadership is very vocal about how important this is. And at the same time, it's just like anything else. You can't make literally someone stick a needle in themselves and do something. There are health concerns. Certain people have health concerns. They cannot get the coronavirus vaccine. I don't know how many of those people exist at Recology. I just don't know because it's, I'm not privy to that information.
Right,
All right.
thanks. It sounds positive that, you really
Yeah.
do have a program going for that.
Thank
The
you. Are there
community
any other
team.
questions for Jamie? Okay, great. Thank you so much for those updates. The next item we have is the monthly column. And somewhere along the line last time something got dropped. So I reminded Larry, I think the day before it was due. And then I remembered that Larry wasn't at the last meeting, so he probably didn't even know he had an article to write. So I just want to applaud Larry for pulling out all the stops and getting an article in and saving us from a little glitch there. But it was just good practice as we get into kind of a new way of getting our monthly columns in. So Larry, I did submit some edits to you and I got your email that those looked mostly okay, which is great. And then I wanted to see, did anyone else have any edits that they wanted to suggest for Larry's article? Risa.
Yeah, it was interesting because I had no idea who wrote the article. So it might be good to like put the person's name because I wouldn't have been able to reach out to give my input ahead of time. But I don't have much to say except in the last paragraph, Larry, I would suggest that you also mention rainwater catchment as an option for mitigating the reduction of flooding and just as I mean, I don't think you need to go on and on about it, but just in the sentence at the beginning of the last paragraph, just to mention something as simple as a 5-gallon bucket or as elaborate as a 3,000-gallon container to collect rainwater.
I think that I'm fine with that. I would appreciate it, Risa, if you have the energy to write that one sentence or part of a sentence because you have more of a handle. I guess if I were doing it, just thinking about it right now, I would just say, and also consider rainwater catchment, for instance, a rain barrel for your downspout. And
I think that works.
okay, well, I can do that.
Just because the focus of the article isn't that, but it just seems like when you're mentioning different things, just to throw it in there, it's worth a whole 700 words,
right.
but we're not doing that.
Yeah, I did mention diverting runoff for irrigation rather than running into the storm drain, and I would just do it in relationship to that at the end. Yeah, I can do that easily.
That'd be great. Thank you.
James?
Yeah, Larry, I really appreciate that you put in and reiterated, you did it twice where you said, hey, the streets aren't the place for the leaves, for us to put our leaves. Because I think I see that all the time. There are a couple hotels on the boulevard where the guys will be out there and they're blowing the leaves and they're blowing them into the street. And I don't know how many residents do that, but I think it's a good reminder. So I appreciate you putting it in there.
I think it's endemic. Any place that has street sweeping, I think people don't really understand the purpose of it or all the purposes of it, and they think that it's an opportunity for them to get their stuff picked up.
There are cities where it is the process, like in Corvallis, you're supposed to put your leaves in the street.
Right, and I've seen places like that, but Ashland is not one. And Ashland has challenges around storm drains, and we've made a lot of progress. But I mean, part of the progress is having a system where we don't add more refuse to the storm drains.
Yeah, I was just going to say that makes it more confusing because people think they've lived somewhere else that's normal, but it's not. So
and I'm presuming like Marnie had some edits, which we're good. Did that get shared with everybody? I didn't really.
I didn't share the edits. If you want me to share my screen, I can put them up that
Well, I'm
way.
just wondering how we're going to wrap it up in terms of approving the draft, or if people want to just accept that, you know, there's some edits from Marnie. I'm going to add that bit about rainwater capture, because don't we have to vote on the actual document, or what's the story on that?
We do have to vote on the document. Oftentimes we just say with, you know, people's
Yeah,
edits.
okay, yeah,
But if you want to see them, I'm happy to put them up on the screen.
No, yeah, if people want to see Marnie's, they should, but if not, I mean, I reviewed them, I thought they were good. There was one that I didn't agree with, and we kind of worked that out.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think to me, it seems important to get it wrapped up and have it in the queue and, you know, move on. That's all.
Okay. Does anyone have a preference? Does anyone want to see the edits or just vote?
We,
Okay.
we do it on, we trust each other. And
Okay.
basically we vote to approve the article based on the edits discussed. And we trust that our writer of the month will, you know, take into consideration our input, and then off it goes.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I also have a question. Is the procedure, like, who is now forwarding the articles? Jamie, you're doing it? So are you a good contact person? Like, because I'll kind of put everything together, I'll send it to Elizabeth, but I can just send you a copy and say, here it is? Or how should we do that? Or
Risa, did you want to say something?
You can answer the question. If you can't, I'll, you know, because you're the woman now.
I'm a great contact.
She is our contact. We write the articles, and then by the due date, we send them to Jamie.
got it.
And Jamie works her magic with her relationship with Curtis at the sneak preview, and we're good to go.
Okay. And then Larry, if you want to add your name to the top as
I
author
will.
and just
I
put,
will.
okay, that'd be great. Thank
And
you.
a title. You want to give it a title, or Curtis
Yeah, no,
will,
I'll
and
give
you.
it. I'll give it.
Yeah, we don't
short
want Curtis to give it a
one
title.
I
Thank you,
have.
Risa,
Yeah.
for mentioning that.
Good.
That would be
Thank you.
great.
Yeah.
No offense, Curtis, if you're listening.
And I threw a title on there, but feel free to choose your own title. I just kind of,
Yeah, I'll just.
it wasn't anything special.
Think about how it'll look.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, great.
Thank you
thank-
for everyone's help.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little bit of a group effort to remember to get it in on time, but we'll do better next time. So Risa, did you have a question or something to say?
I was gonna move to approve Larry's article with the edits offered.
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Hi.
All opposed? Okay, the article passes. Thank you. So for the next article for November, we have the Ashland Solar Cooperative. I think that one's going to have to be put off. I know Jim's out of town, and there's been some just internal discussions of directions that it's going that just have made it a little bit harder to communicate it outward to the public. So I do have an idea for another article, but if anyone has something pressing and more timely, just let me know. I didn't want to dominate that slot if there's something else that needs to go in there.
Remind me, what month are we talking about again?
So it'll be published in November, and it'll be due at the next meeting in September.
I'm wondering, I don't have any dates yet, but I'm wondering if maybe our leaf drop events might be a good one. Get those leaves out of the storm drains, get them at the event. It would be good to promote the event as heavily as possible, simply because we're changing the location of it. So anywhere we can plug in, you know, it's now at the transfer station, not at the recycle center. It's an idea. I mean, it's a really easy article for me to write because it's basically the same every year. So I'd be willing to do that if we wanted to consider that. And if not, that's fine. I'm going to promote it in other ways. So
So that has a lot of overlap with the article that
yeah,
Larry
it's fine.
wrote. So I'm just curious if there's a way to do that, but not have that be the whole article, because it, so much of it would repeat from this month or from October's. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I can simply also we could just leave that out, and I can put an ad paid for by Recology in the same sneak preview, and the next month, just to cover it. So, I'm not too concerned about it.
Okay. Larry, what do you think?
Well, I was just going to say, I saw Stu there for a moment, whether there's some city program or communication that we could tie into that would be good timing wise then. So, yeah. So Stu, do you have any ideas about that?
Not off the top of my head. I can check in with Elizabeth and see if there's anything maybe coming later on. I think the leaf pickup is a good one. It's, really fall is a prime time, I think, for climate outreach to happen, because we know that in the spring, there's a lot of interest in doing wildfire preparedness and prevention. So I think now's a good time. We can certainly pitch the electric vehicles and zero emission vehicle incentives again, or just do a general one about conservation programs. It's been a while since we've done that. So, but nothing official from the city that I can think of that would line up.
Risa?
What about something connected to the CPC and some of the work that you mentioned? Will there be something that we can illuminate in an article?
I would imagine so. You'd want to talk to the CPC and see what sorts of things they would like to talk about. I think that seems like a good conversation to have.
Okay, so we have some options. It sounds like we can highlight some of the kind of ongoing programs, including the leaf drop, the electric vehicles incentives. And it might be good to get all of those messages out, and that would be a good time for it. So that's one good option. We can give an update on CPC and work with them on that article. And then the article that I have in mind, I keep getting asked on really almost a daily or weekly basis where people should move. And it's just become this ongoing question. And my answer is very much like, you probably shouldn't move. But it goes all around like, okay, let's say you're going to move. Where are you going to move? Why would you choose these places over those places? What does climate change look like there? What's going on elsewhere? And, what happens if all of us try and pick up and move from climate change? And then what happens to our communities that get left? So I really want to write that article at some point, and I don't need to write it exactly right now. It just came up because I just keep getting asked so much. I thought I should just write this down because it seems to be what everybody is talking about. Risa?
I really like that idea, Marnie, because I feel like I encounter it, not maybe every day, but it's an interesting thing to ponder, because basically what people are saying is, where can I go to avoid the current reality of climate impacts that are making our lives unpleasant to miserable? And basically it's, well, you can choose the East Coast. You may have a better air quality, but you may also have hurricanes and twisters, and we can't run away from this.
Run away from it.
And
Yeah.
so
And there's all sorts of ethical arguments about, like, so people that can afford to move, like, versus those that can't. And I think it's worth getting out there, but it doesn't actually have to be in this column. It could just be its own article as well. So
I Marnie, I think that would be a great article, and I can't see it staying to the word limit that this column is going to give you, because I think there'd be so much to discuss. As someone who's moved from floods to wildfires, yeah, I have seen all the impacts, and yeah, from massive flooding in Scotland through to wildfires here, and then people are migrating northwards from California up the west coast, and we've got some of the worst air quality in northeast Washington at the moment. So I think it would be I think it would be a brilliant article, and I would say write it, but I wouldn't want you to limit yourself to those 700 words, because I think there'd be so much to say on this topic.
Okay, well, maybe we should hold off on that for a different setting in some way, and then move forward. I think it is important to remind people again of the leaf drop and the electric car charging and electric car incentives. So should we possibly move forward with that? It's a bunch of topics all put together.
It's kind of an announcement with a short narrative to weave it through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could just say, Marnie, your article, it could be part 1 and part 2. So that's 1,400 words.
That's true. Okay.
Another place they might be interested in that article is the Spotlight, the articles that Laurie Kaplan does as well.
Okay.
That would make a good article. And just thinking of that, before I was in the UK, so earlier in July and June, I had been working with Laurie on a City of Ashland survey that's going to be joint between the Ashland Climate Project and Southern Oregon University. One of the students that works for me, she was working with us on this. And so that might be another place. I need to touch base with Laurie and find out the timescales on that, but that might be another place in the sneak preview where we could make a short summary of the survey and an announcement. It's about the buildings and energy section implementation of SEEP. And it's basically a survey going out asking, so it's following up on that climate change survey that went out from SOCAN and the Ashland Climate Project year or so ago, and it's going into more detail in one area of SEEP.
Oh, great. Risa.
Could the survey be included in the article in the sneak Bex? So it could be a narrative and then actually the actual survey?
It could be a link, not the actual survey. It could be a link, a short summary and then a link. Like just promoting it, reaching more audience, that would be great.
Okay. And when is a good timing for that?
That's what I don't know. I need to touch base with Laurie and see where we're at with that.
Okay.
I'll take that action.
Okay, great. Okay, so we still need this November article. And we need a lead on that one. I'm happy to take the lead, but none of those are my topics. So I basically just get something from Jamie and something from Stu and anybody else that wants to add to it.
I think that's where we're at for the next month. I think do that and have it as announcements. That's always helpful.
Okay.
So did we decide that we were going to add this article on should I move from climate change? Have we decided to put that on the list?
I do agree with Bex that it's probably longer than the word limit. I think it would definitely pull people in more. I mean, announcements are just announcements, but I think there's things that we really do want people to know about, including the leaf drop. So I guess I'm a little torn. If anyone can make that decision better than me, that'd be great.
Well, just to let you know, Marnie, this piques my interest. I've had a lot of people asking me the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm down here in Sebastopol where I have been affected by smoke at all. And yet I'm tuned in really well to what's happening up in the valley and in Ashland and Grass Valley and all over. So this is a big question people are asking. And so I want to support that we move forward with it. And I'd be happy to assist you in that.
Okay.
So let's do it the following month. Let's do the announcement thing because we have a short window for when that article's due. So I would suggest we get input from Jamie and Stu and put that out and then an opportunity for your article or articles after that,
Okay.
unless there's something else that's pressing.
No, that sounds good. Okay, so I'll arrange the announcements article and get that over to Jamie. I mean, sorry, get that into the next packet. And then over to Jamie after that. And then I'll start working on the other one. And it sounds like, James, you would also like to be involved in, I don't know, Bex, if you also would want to at least be part of that one. At least have you look it over, but if you want to help write it too, that'd be great.
I'd love to do that with you. Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Okay, that sounds good. And then we have the recycling one still on for December. And I don't know that we want to discuss that one further at this point. Is that okay? Okay. Okay. So I wanted to go ahead and do a little prioritizing. I think there's a lot of moving pieces right now. It seems like people are working more isolated than we were before. So if we can kind of reconvene and refocus on what we're working on. I just wanted to check on the time frame. So we have 50 minutes left. We also have a SEEP project update for 15 minutes. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure what that was referring to. That's just our individual projects. Because I think what we can do is pull that into the same discussion. If we're talking about what our individual small team efforts are and how they support the SEEP. I think that's still all part of the bigger discussion. Okay, just wanted to double check that I wasn't getting that wrong. I put together, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. So I gave our update to council, and this first little bit here is just from the slides from that. It just reviewed what our powers and duties generally are, which is always a good reminder to educate and advocate for the climate recovery goals, and then also to make recommendations on strategies, actions, and programs following the SEEP. There's a little bit of this is paraphrased just to make it simpler. So I feel like we were currently working within what our powers and duties are, but we might want to focus a little bit more. And I wanted to just brainstorm a little bit of what types of things. I feel like what we've done in the past is very different than what we're doing right now. We're still kind of struggling to figure out what types of activities do we take on at this moment? What types of actions do we take? How do we educate and do outreach? Who are we outreaching to? Those kinds of questions. So I wanted to just walk through some of these questions for clarity as a group, and then get back into, we have our smaller teams that we've worked out, but those might have changed by now because we have finished some of those projects that we were working on. We might have new interests. So I was just going to walk us through some of this, if that's okay. And please feel free to jump in for a group discussion. But in general, we used to do things like we go to a lot of parades, right? And that was great. We had, it was very visual. People would see us there. They would actually get excited about recycling and reducing use. But that's not what we're doing at this time. And so I just wanted to get more clear on what types of things we do in general, and then later down as we work down, it'll be more specific of, okay, specifically what are we wanting to work on as individuals, and then how do we work together kind of in smaller teams. So can we just brainstorm for a minute of just kind of what types of things we do? Because I'm not sure that I'm very clear on some of this.
I can start with some of the things I feel I've done since.
Okay.
Okay, so give presentations.
Okay.
Review or write website content for City of Ashland. Write articles. I guess webinars included within presentations. Yeah, that's probably where I've been at, even because even when I've worked on projects, it's resulted in those kind of areas.
Okay.
I would also add propose like drive policy, because before COVID, in terms of food serviceware, we had quite a lot of ideas of where to take Ashland. I think will now be pushed at state level with the new act, but yeah, proposed drive policy.
Okay. And I can't see everybody at the same time that I can see my shared screen. So if you have your hand up and I don't see you, I see Risa waving.
Reese is waving.
Risa.
So what I would add to what Bex said is collaborations with other commissions.
Okay. Okay. James, did you have something to add?
Yeah, we've done this in the past a lot, and I don't know that we've done it recently, but really asking city council the question of what would you like us to do, because we do work for city council.
Okay. I would add that we do research. We look up kind of what other cities have done or how effective certain things are, and we present that to council or staff.
And I might add, not just asking city council for direction, but proposing to them what we think we would like to have maybe done, and help, get that support through council.
I think that's what proposed drive policy refers to.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can see me. This is Larry. I guess somehow, we talk about it a lot and we don't do it a whole lot, but I think we all want to, and it's collaborating with other community groups, plus trying to bring in or connect somehow with younger folks like students, high school students, SOU students.
Great. And I think this is important, like even things that maybe we're not doing, but that we probably should be doing. I feel like we should be doing a lot more work with the business community. And so I'm going to add that on there, but it's not something that we've done a whole lot of, except for a lot of the Road to Go and sustainability work in the restaurants. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to be a little more clear on that. Just so that as we move forward with specific projects, we kind of remember how we work on those. And if we need to add to this list, we can, like, as we start to develop some things that we're doing, we might actually come up with things that aren't on this list, but we can add them. Why do we do these things? I would say mostly to move forward the SEEP.
I'd look deeper in terms of, I would say this is actually the very survival, thriving of the city of Ashland in terms of economic resilience. Our contribution in leading the way or showing through economic and social justice issues that we can address climate change. Because, yeah, I don't wake up and think I have to deliver a plan or a strategy. I think I have to make a difference. SEEP just kind of organizes and groups everyone's thoughts in a structured way to do that.
And it gives us a mandate.
Yeah.
So then we could say something about, why do we do them? To create the city that we want to live in. I don't know. Or,
If you want to pull the SEEP into it, you could reference the climate vision that's in there. Because in theory, that's the purpose of the SEEP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
I might also add to that first list of promoting existing conservation and energy programs.
We should have got that one, Stu.
And on the why do we do them, the last one, to create, I would prefer to have to evolve, because there are a lot of people who think we've created a great thing. And yeah, thank you.
well, then I would say to activate, because we have verbiage, but verbiage is not going to get us where we need to go. It's action. So I would like action to be somehow represented, because we don't need more theory. We need to figure out how to integrate a practice that's actually sustainable.
Bill, what would you like it to actually say? To
Build and activate. I don't know. I just think that action is a really important word, if only in sentiment, but sentiment is not going to get us where we need to go.
Okay. And this isn't going anywhere. I mean, this is just for our internal brainstorming. So we don't have to wordsmith it, but thank you.
No, it's about our intention.
Yeah. And right now it looks a little funky, but it doesn't matter. We understand what was being said there. Okay, so this was just to kind of get us on the same page of what we're doing in general and why, which I think is really important. Sometimes some of the things that we're doing, if we went back to these, maybe they're not moving forward what we want to be moving forward. So I think it's important to check ourselves.
Can I just add one little detail?
Yeah.
We had
Sorry, Larry, I can't see you.
Economic resilience we had, but really we're trying to build climate resilience in the community. And
well, the economy is connected to that.
so maybe those two can be together. Economic and climate resilience up above or something. Yeah, sure.
Okay. What I see right now is that we're kind of doing some short-term things because we're not sure where we're going long-term. We're not coordinated with the other commissions. We're not coordinated with kind of what some of the major goals are on the SEEP. And, you know, we've been reconfigured and we're finding our feet a little bit. So I see us doing some short-term things, which is really important because it keeps us moving, it keeps us active, it keeps us engaged, it makes sure that we are actually making progress. But we need to do some more kind of longer-term planning with goals and priorities and cohesiveness. And so right now we're a little bit more in the short-term realm, and that's fine. But I would like to see us have some bigger goals that we're trying to achieve. So my question is, so we just had, and I wish Brian was here, we just had a retreat for the Solar Cooperative, and none of us wanted to spend that much time on a Saturday, and yet we came out of it just, you know, energized and coordinated and had such a better understanding of what we were trying to achieve and knowing where we were going and how we were going to work together. And it was very, very useful. And it's nice when you have something that is that well planned and effective. So I wanted to check with this group and see if this is something folks are interested in or at least open to, so that we can feel like we're more on the same page and we really start meeting some of our longer term goals that we want to meet. But I think just these 2-hour meetings will need something bigger than that to get there. And what it would be nice is to do that once we have 1 or 2 new commissioners and our youth commissioner as well in our group, so that at the same time that we're bringing in new people, we're also kind of reorganizing and refocusing so everyone's on the same page. Does anyone have any input on that? Risa?
Well, I just wonder how we do that with the reality of COVID surrounding us, and, you know, if this is like a virtual thing, or this is an in-person thing, or, and because we're an official city commission, there's a lot of parameters around, you know, for the solar cooperative, it's easier to navigate things like that. But I just, before we got too deep into it, I'd be helpful to hear logistically how we might even pull something like that off if we decided that that's what we wanted to do.
We could tack it on to an existing meeting. So instead of a 2-hour meeting, we could have like a 4-hour meeting with some sort of big break in the middle, or a social thing afterwards, which is harder online, I realize, but I think we just have to kind of deal with it and make it work anyway. And that way we could do kind of our regular business, but also do just a little bit more discussion of what it is we're trying to achieve. Going over all of the things that we haven't gone over in a while, agreements, expectations, clarifying what our roles are, setting our goals and timelines, all of that.
Marnie,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can see me.
Oh, sorry, I can't. I need to figure out a way to make that work better.
I've never figured it out either. I'm forever toggling back and forth when I have to do that. I just wanted to let the commission know that the Wildfire Safety Commission has done this. They call it an in-service, but essentially it's a planning retreat. And they did one a couple of years ago. I think it was 4 hours. It was a pretty good chunk of the day, but they really took that opportunity to look and kind of get up out of the day-to-day work and really look at their long-term vision. And they made some very interesting shifts from that conversation, from just that time of being able to put the periscope up and look at the broader work. And so it's definitely possible, but Risa makes a good point that it has to be noticed. It's got all the same requirements of the city, but we went through that and found that afterward they've done a couple of in-services since then, which have essentially been separate meetings, but they haven't been as long. So that first one was really the one that took the most time, and since then it's more that they're updating and refining and tweaking with it. But it definitely had a different conversation than what the standard meetings are. And so it was useful to separate it completely from a standard meeting and to, you know, work out the agenda and kind of facilitate it that way.
Yeah, and we did one, like maybe 6 years ago, I think. In fact, we've done 2 since I've been on the commission. We did one the very first year and then a second one a few years later.
And we did one a long time ago, and it was kind of a precursor to the whole climate change, climate energy action planning process.
Right.
It was back when Dick Wanderscheid was still working for the city. So we've done several, and I've found that physically getting together for those kinds of things are always useful, but you know, we might be limited in how we do this.
Yeah. I'm happy to help work out the logistics. I mean, I'm sure we can do it. We just have to get creative and just figure out how that we keep everybody safe and still do it. Like, I mean, maybe we could do it if we have somewhere outdoors where everyone can be spaced. Then we could do it in person, and especially with fall coming up where we might have some good outdoor weather to do that and hopefully less smoke. Larry.
Yeah, I just was going to say about what you said, plus I think it's important to consider the difference between meeting in person and meeting virtually. And I think that if we could figure out a way to do it in person, outdoors, it would be more effective, and we would achieve our goals having that sort of a retreat environment more if we did it in person. And I do think it might be far enough down the road. It's going to take a while before we have additional members approved by council and a student member. We might be looking at least a couple more months, right? I mean, Tanya, do you have an idea about that?
Yeah, one of the things to just keep in mind is that the city's staffing, now that we're back into all of the, it was just starting to lift up in terms of the distancing and all of that has to be done with all the different teams at the city. So in terms of staff support for this, you'd want it, that's one of the elements. And then of course, there aren't any things happening in person at the city right now. That's a larger mandate, so that would have to lift as well. One of the things we might think about is just figuring out how to reduce the staffing requirement for this, you know, so that you're not asking for as much, you know, for as much, anywhere near as much staff time as you might expect. So we could probably figure out a way to deal with the minutes and not have to ask Elizabeth to be there. Maybe there's a way to limit how much time Stu has to be involved with it, so that it's really a commission-led and driven process that doesn't add more strain to the staff.
Yeah, and so who should I talk to about that?
I think, well, I can ask Gary Milliman about it and just ask him what that structure would look like, our new interim city manager. So I can ask about that and get back to you all just to find out what your options look like and what we might be able to do to alleviate any additional burden on staff.
Okay. Larry, your little hand is still up. Did you have more?
I should take it down, but yeah, I was about to ask one other thing. It does seem to me that we could easily facilitate a meeting ourselves and take notes during the meeting and then, you know, collate them somehow and give them to Elizabeth to publish and distribute however they need to be. Because we wouldn't be taking action at the meeting. So it just seems that should be possible as long as it's, you know, noticed and it wouldn't really be, I mean, that type of meeting, Tanya, maybe you can clarify, or Elizabeth, there's no reason that has to be an open meeting if we're not voting, taking action, discussing policy. If it's,
yeah, it probably does need to be an open, an announced meeting. The ones for the Wildfire Safety Commission had to be as well.
Well, right, but is the public invited to the meeting?
Yeah, they would have to be.
Oh, really?
Because you have a quorum, and if you, the only way that it wouldn't count is if it was something that was entirely social, where nothing was going to be discussed that would ever come back in front of your commission.
Okay.
Right. So just the discussion element is also open to the public. So it would be noticed like anything else.
So, but being open to the public doesn't mean that the public would be participating beyond a brief.
No, they would just observe like they're doing now.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah.
Good.
It's just the same. They have to be able to come and see the discussion.
And Maddie, I just want to say I completely support this, and I just, something just drops inside of me because we're talking about like what we do and why we do it, and it's totally inspirational. We're talking about you know, that the wildfire commission, they met and there was a shift and it was really great to get together and everyone supported this idea. And then the bulk of the time we speak the logistics and the practicalities. And I just want to note again, like, surely as a commission, is there a way we can get together as a team? There is definitely, we are working as individuals, as Marnie noted. We need to improve our team working. We need to do something. We're all volunteering our time. We want to hear and contribute to the city of Ashland. I would love to do something like this, and I think this would be so useful for us to get together, discuss what we can do, and we can do it on our time, facilitate ourselves, take notes. And then I just drop inside because we can't do that. If it's on Zoom, we have to record it. If not, we have to invite others in. When actually, over the last year, this commission's been very up and down and slightly in crisis. And this would benefit us so much. So I just want to note again, my little heart just drops because then we spend the bulk of the time discussing how to get together. And it's just, I'm like, bureaucracy and administration will, it's not going to be climate change that gets us, it will be that. I'm just like, I can't, I'm really like, how
Okay.
do we work with this to get together? And
Well, we're gonna
can we
make
actually-
it happen. How's that? We're just gonna make
can
it
we
happen.
make it happen? And
We will.
as a team, this would be hugely beneficial. And I think we should, and I think we need to do it. And
Yeah.
I don't understand how we always find every problem with meeting and then we end up spending half an hour talking about it.
Okay,
And I
well, we
just-
don't have to talk about the problems as a group because I can just
No.
deal with those individually. I'll find the people that I need to talk to and work through. We don't have to talk about all the little roadblocks as a group.
It just
But
it
we'll do it.
crushes my soul.
Okay, so in order to protect Bex's little heart, let's not talk about all of the logistics of it, but let's hear that there's support for it and that we see the value in it. And I haven't heard anyone be like, oh, I just don't want another really big long meeting or any of that. I do want to support the notion of really protecting staff time. So as much as we can do on our own and get it done and not need Stu to come on a Saturday or Elizabeth, then we want to definitely promote that. So I'll see what I can do on that end. How's that?
That sounds great.
Okay. Okay. I want to encourage everyone, and this just, if you haven't reviewed the SEEP in a while, review the SEEP. If you haven't seen Stu's report to council, read Stu's report to council, which was from last May. I just want to, I feel like we drift sometimes and we're not quite on target, and I'm just trying to bring us back into what it is we want to focus on. This is just something that's bothered me for a while and I'm not sure how to get around it, but we all have things that we're passionate about, and calling them pet projects sounds a little derogatory and it's not meant to be that way. It's more just like we have our individual passions and that's why we're on this commission. But when we actually come together and work together, we get more done because we're focused as a group. And when we're each off doing little tiny things, I think sometimes they just get lost. So I've had to, pull myself onto other people's passions and work there. And I just want to encourage everyone to be willing to do that when we come together on a priority, even if it's not the thing that, that you've been working on for the last decade. It's so much more effective when we can really focus in that way. So I know that it's hard sometimes. I wanted to, I guess I put up pros versus cons, and then I gave you my personal perspective on it. There are reasons for working on the things that you're passionate and knowledgeable about. So was there anything on that topic that anyone wanted to add? It was more kind of just a reminder for myself to.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about this in terms of how splintered things can get. And I know that everybody has their passions on something to work on. And I'm just, when we do get together, I'd like to just ask that we think outside the box and maybe along the line of what you're talking about, maybe, Marnie, which is how could we as a commission, as a whole commission, really take something on and do it together and make it happen?
Mm-hmm. I think that would be really good for us to do that. We haven't done that in a while.
I really like that, and I echo James in saying, yeah, for us to step outside the box and think a little differently here, because I do think that we all need to challenge ourselves on that, and we come here as individuals sometimes with our own well, we definitely come with our own perspective, but sometimes we have in mind what we're pushing, and we need to step away from that. We're a group here and we need to work as a group.
Thank you. Okay, I was thinking that we would review our expectations of commissioners, but that seems like something good to do when we have new people and if we have some sort of retreat. So when I reported to council, I reported on what we did for last year, but then I also was reporting on what we're planning to do, which was a little bit hard because we haven't really organized that very well. Again, because we're in this kind of place of transition and we're meeting online and there's all sorts of reasons. But what I did hear from this group when we were writing these down was that one thing that we want to do is help preserve some of the positive changes that have happened during the pandemic. So that was one of the things that we identified as what we are hoping to do in the near-term future. Also, another thing that we wanted was more guidance from council, interaction, two-way communication with council. You know, requests from them, us helping to do some of the research that's needed or make some recommendations. We have a goal of having full membership, which I think we're getting close to meeting soon. So that's kind of exciting for us. So the outstanding one still is the school district seat. So if anyone has ideas for that or specific names that we want to recommend, then we can go to the superintendent with those. And then we have our priority actions that we've been working on. This is just the list that was taken from our previous lists, and I just wrote those down to just review really quickly that we have single-use plastics and waste prevention, which is primarily, oh, Bex, I'm sorry, I didn't put, sorry, is it just Bex and Risa? Or is Jamie on here too?
Jamie.
Jamie, I'm sorry, Jamie. Okay. And we have kind of this climate resilience group, which I kind of relabeled equitable climate resilience, but we haven't met in a while. So this group, you know, we organized it, but we haven't been moving that forward. I think because a lot of us instead we're helping on the renewable energy piece. And then we have water conservation. So those were some of our top priorities. You know, some of those have specific actions associated with them, other ones don't, but that is somewhere that we might want to build on. We have some old priorities that, you know, either there was a single project and it's been done, or they just aren't current priorities. So the 20 is plenty is kind of on the back burner at this moment, working with transportation. Supporting some of the city initiatives. I'm not sure what I meant by that. The cross commission coordination. So Brian and I have been working on that. It's kind of very new. The group is still forming. So hopefully there will be progress to report in the future. There's been work on electrification, garden equipment, car charging. I know one of the big goals is around reducing the demand for natural gas. So there might be something there that we want to work on. And then I talked to Stu a little bit about kind of where our focus would help support the city's efforts. And so there's a few ideas there. So we have 15 minutes left, and I guess it'd be good maybe for individuals to say where they want to work kind of in the next month or two as we move towards some sort of retreat where we can really set our priorities more formally. But it'd be nice to know what people are working on and where you want to keep things moving forward, or what you see kind of that building into in the future, and then how it fits in with the SEEP. Does that make sense, or does that sound like a reasonable use of our 15 minutes, Risa?
Well, it occurs to me that one of the things that we've talked about that's a challenge for us is that we come together more. And so I'm wondering if we keep this same structure with each of us picking the areas that we're interested in, or we agree, and I'm just asking the question because I don't know the answer, but I'm just wondering whether we should go about it in a little bit different way and see if we can get a slightly different result with, if our goal is to be more united and not individualized? It's more a question.
I think you're onto something, because what I see that we're doing is we pick the topic that we individually are interested in. And then we try and do everything around that, as far as there's research and there's outreach and, there's just all these different pieces, rather than having a team that gets really good at doing some sort of outreach and then does different topics, So maybe they're doing outreach on the electric garden equipment one week, but next week they're doing outreach on getting natural gas out of your home, or whatever it is, or helping to support some of Stu's programs and other programs. And that way we could be part of a bigger team that does all different pieces of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, during this time of COVID, I found myself more and more isolated socially. Came out a little bit with the lightning of things, and then it's kind of gone back in. But overall, it seems to me that I like what you're saying, Risa, in terms of, and you brought it up originally, Marnie, in terms of rallying around something that we want to do, and then maybe even assigning certain aspects of that to team members, to commissioners, to bring forward in the given month, but it's on a specific topic, so that there's kind of a rallying round, and ultimately building more camaraderie as team members, as commissioners, rather than the kind of like individualization that we tend to typically do. So I tend to support what you're saying.
I do think with only 15 minutes right now, we're not going to come up with something big that we're all going to rally around and we're going to have
no intention to. And I think we're probably
Right.
talking about what we're going to do when we get together.
Yeah. So what I have in my mind are two different, we have short term, okay, what are we going to do this month and next month? And what are we going to do longer term in a more coordinated fashion? And with our last bit of time right now, it'd be great if people want to at least just let the group know either what you've been working on or what you plan to work on this month. And then if you need a couple specific actions, there are definitely some things that Stu needs help with. And there's some other ongoing efforts where people can link in as well. Does that help as far as, and I'm happy to start because I was working on the solar cooperative, but there's a little bit of a hold right now. And so I don't have anything to do on that project at this moment. And so actually I am looking for something specific to do, which is why I talked to Stu earlier today to find out kind of, well, how do we help fill in now that Bridget's gone? How do we promote some of the programs that the city has moving, and also some of the other programs at other groups? So I can go through those.
Marnie, can I
Yeah.
just make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Similar to what you said before, to try and avoid becoming individuals and choosing what we work on, I think we need to not ask this question, which I think James was also partly suggesting there too. Because if you ask me what I've been working on, I can like list projects that are linked to SOU. I can list passion in my spare time, what I do around single use. And I can talk about, where I always talk about single use, and I can talk about the impact that the new Plastic Pollution and Modernization of Recycling Act is going to have on us. But I wouldn't mind hearing what Stu actually needs first, because I would have a whole list of things that would keep me quite busy, which are my interests. But can we turn the priority on its head from the beginning? Because otherwise we're all going to have a list and be full up. I know you said the Ashland Solar Cooperative, but again, the Ashland, unless it was discussed at the last meeting, it never came here to be discussed as a priority for something the commission would be working on, even though I completely support it, don't get me wrong, but I would really like to hear direction and then us come in, or maybe this is what we should be discussing at the retreat.
I think we should definitely discuss it at the retreat. I was trying to get us to have something to do in the near term. So unless we want to just not, I mean, we could continue what we're doing for the next month, but I feel like actually for myself and some others, I don't know that we have clear direction at this time. And I definitely don't have a team to work with in this moment.
Okay.
So that's why I solicited from Stu kind of where we can link into what the city's doing. And Stu, I can let you go through these items, or I just wrote them down during our conversation today. If you want to let folks know.
So, I mean, I think there's a few different ideas and things that could be appropriate for this commission. One of the things we talked about was whether or not it would be appropriate for CCOC to coordinate some of the messaging. I think Tanya's been talking about coordinated messaging. I think there may be a role for CCOC in there. Maybe a small role, maybe a big role, but that's something we could start fleshing out for next year. In addition, all of the programs that we offer, the incentive programs, could always use a boost. I do what I can to kind of keep spreading the word, but the more help, the better. And so if there's one person who's interested in spreading the word about the EV incentive, for example, you could give me regular updates about who you've talked to, and that could maybe line out some other places to do effective outreach. I think we could do that with all of the incentive programs, and I don't want to pile too much on anybody, on any one person. But you know, if you're passionate about induction stoves and you really want to help get the word out about that, I think there's an opportunity there as well. So pretty much any of our existing city programs, whether it's the lawn replacement for water or heat pumps or the solar incentive, like we don't need to be masters of all of them, but if there's one little solution in there that floats your boat, I think it would be good to get some additional advocacy behind it. The other thing would be just building relationships with other commissions and helping them identify what part of their work is climate related and identify that proactively rather than reactively as they move through their agendas. And that's a ton of work. I think we can all recognize that to be part of a commission is a lot of time investment. So to ask one of you to go and then monitor another commission is going to be another feat. But it's important, I think, we can all recognize that climate touches every issue in Ashland. And so we need to be reaching out to folks who deal with those issues to make sure that they're in touch with the climate aspect of it. Also, there's a lot of work that CPC is doing that I think would benefit from additional public outreach and engagement. That would probably, you'd want to just check in on what they're working on and see where it would make sense to plug in. But for example, I think it would be good to have additional outreach to city council individually, to councilors, to help them see what questions they have about climate issues and, you know, bring folks up to speed kind of offline. In meetings is not the best time to do that sometimes. So there's been some discussion at CPC about how do we, you know, build those relationships with city councilors. So if somebody's interested in that, you could certainly connect with CPC and maybe make a plan to do that together. I don't want to keep riffing here, but I think there's a lot of different opportunities to pick a constituent and talk to them and figure out ways to make them engaged. I'll stop for now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so because we have very little time, I'm going to let folks kind of decide on their own what it is they want to work on. I don't think we can do it as a group right now. But if you want to be thinking about where to link in and how to pull others in as well, I know that you know, I've been working a lot more with the other commissions and trying to really move that forward. We decided to actually meet a lot more frequently until we can at least really get some things moving more cohesively. And also, I think us getting engaged with CPC as far as direction for doing some outreach would be really good. So I'd be interested in working on those. And if anyone else wants to do that with me, that'd be great.
That sounds great, Marty. I'm happy to hear that is happening. I'm gonna have a think what I'm working on, and then also in terms of group work like that for the retreat. I need a bit more time to think about that.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay. Well, we have lots of ways and areas that people can engage. And we are an outreach group. So if we want to really, maybe have a specific subgroup that refines how to do really good outreach, I think that might be powerful for us. So that might be something to think about as well.
And with that, can I add the skill
Yeah.
set for
Yeah.
that subgroup? We
Uh-huh.
sometimes don't challenge ourselves on that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, in this group, if we have someone with a background that is strong in that way, it might be really good for us to learn some new tools and new skills there. So,
Absolutely, to reach, a broad demographic and understanding all the different tools and mechanisms around communication, behavior, and different ways of reaching people.
yeah, in fact, if anyone has resources that you come across that might help the rest of us learn some new things, that might be a great thing to share with the group if we want to start to get better at doing the outreach that we're tasked to do. Okay, I'm gonna now stop sharing that. And do we have, so we still have a couple things on the agenda. Oh, I have vacancies discussion on the agenda for today, but well, it depends on what Kate decides to do and how quickly the mayor moves, but that might be, I think the only other vacancy would be the Ashland School District one, so. Yeah.
What about there wasn't there a high school student that you had connected with, or Brian had? I'm not certain.
Yeah, Anya Moore she's waiting to have the mayor recommend her to council.
So I'm wondering about Anya, and if Kate decides to submit her application, I'm wondering if our council liaison, Tanya Graham, could help to facilitate that process, just encouragement or a bag of bubble gum, or something to the mayor. I don't know what she likes, but
Well, at the last council meeting, the mayor announced that she had a backlog that she was working through of council or of commission appointments, and that she was going to be bringing them to council as quickly as she could. And so I'm sure she's got them in sort of chronological order in terms of the oldest one first. But I know that she has said that she's working hard to get through that backlog and get them in front of council. So I will keep an eye on it, though. I know some other liaisons are keeping an eye on applications for their commissions as well. So we have one that we know of. We have a high school student who has applied. Is that correct? Do we have an application that's pending already?
Yeah.
Okay. I will check into that.
Okay.
If I don't see it coming across in the packet this week.
Okay. Okay, and then we still have the nuclear energy presentation just pending in the future, but I think Brian's the one that was interested in that. So we'll wait for the next meeting to talk about that unless someone else wanted to bring it up. Okay. All right, I think that's it. And I'll bring you more details about the potential for a retreat and kind of work through some of the obstacles we might have, because I'm sure there's a way to do it. And I'm excited about just about that opportunity. So anything else?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.